Yeah, so much for theory. Now I would like to log into License Manager and show you, first of all, how licenses are defined, or how license models are defined, of course. So now I have to go into this one here. This is our License Manager demo portal. I have to log in, and you see here protected services, and there are some services already registered. Let's take this one. This is registered as a license protected WMS, and also familiar to Security Manager. First thing you can define here is which authentication mechanisms you want to use. So I don't want to go into details on these different authentication mechanisms, because I explained that the last time already. Then next step would be to create a license model for this. So you jump here and you see for this service with these providing these different layers, there are also lots of different license models provided. So I mentioned the Inspire license models before, so let's look at Inspire Basic, for instance. This is quite an easy license model. This is some kind of so-called click-through license, which doesn't allow you any kind of configuration, and which doesn't include any kind of accounting. This is just agreeing on terms and conditions, and that's it. So you have some kind of explanation what the license model is about. You can decide which role to assign this license to. So I'm logged in as an administrator, so this role is also assigned to that license. Duration is 1 day, but you can also change it and enter other durations if you want. This is an individual license. You can also define group licenses, for instance. And these are text elements which include your terms and conditions. And following this Inspire document, we just, well, looks a bit packed with HTML stuff, but well, here it's not anymore. So you can put that in there, and you already see you can put in plain text, and you can also use some kind of HTML tags in there if you want to do more, let's say, work on the layout and something like that. So this is all for the basic license. Of course, you can look into the access rights. It's just a grant all. It allows everything, and the only thing it imposes here is a copyright, and for this copyright it refers to an image. So this is the logo of the data provider, and this one will be put in each map image which is produced via License Manager. So I go back and go into the price models, and you see they are all 0 or deactivated, so you don't charge any money for that. That's a very easy license model. So you just define terms and conditions, give some kind of description, allow everything, so it's a grant all license, don't create a price model, and that's it. So what you can achieve with it is that you get agreement to terms and conditions before users access the service. And this is explicit agreement. So this is different to what some data providers are doing currently, so putting terms and conditions into capabilities documents and something like that. Problem with that is that people probably might not even see these terms and conditions, and therefore from a legal perspective they are more or less useless. In this case, using License Manager, you force users to explicitly check a box and click on agree or something like that. So you have an explicit agreement to your terms and conditions, and from a legal perspective this is much more value. Looking into a more complicated license model, now we take the Inspire specific license. It starts similar, also a description for the license. You allow that license for everybody, and here we start with configuration options. So by entering different durations, I create the option for the user to select between the different durations. I also don't define in advance if it's an individual or a group license. I leave it open, so it's also configurable for the user. we have license conditions in here, which is similar to what we've seen before, but in this time it's a bit layouted, so it uses some of these HTML text and something like that. So make it look nice, hopefully. Something else, and here we have additional configuration parameters or additional configuration options, which you can define completely arbitrary. So you can create a new option or a new parameter, choose the type, and then enter the values. So in this case, for instance, first one is the purpose of use, whether it's used commercially, privately, for research, or for government. This is just an example. Or this one, if when getting the license, if you want to expose the results to third parties, so if you want to give data away to third parties, something like that. This is also configuration options. By the way, these configuration options are also somehow suggested, at least by the Inspire guidance document. Also popular is something like numbers of users, so how many users will use this license if it's a group license. So default number is, or default value is 1, but you can also extend that. Now looking into the access rights, and this is not a grant all anymore. So in this case, I defined for each get feature info operation on each layer that it's configurable. So it's not permitted per se, but the user can select when concluding the license if he needs to get feature info permission on the different layers. And we also have spatial limitations. So this was defined in German, so sorry for that. For this, you, as you know from Security Manager, you connect to a WFS and you select certain features in there, and then these feature geometries define your spatial restrictions. And as a special extension to Security Manager, you have this additional checkbox. Use these as a configuration parameter. So when concluding the license, you can select, do I want to use this service in the area of Cottbus or in the area of Potsdam, or in both, or in additional areas. So these are counties in the federal state of Brandenburg in Germany. And you don't just provide a license which gives access to, let's say, the whole state, but you can select the different counties you are interested in. This, of course, usually only makes sense if you refer to these different configuration options in your price models. And what you see here are two price models which are configured. The first one is for the license conclusion. How to set up a price model is a bit more complicated, so I won't go into detail in this presentation, but you have a kind of matrix, and you can define, for instance, in this case, each get feature info option costs you 10 euros, for instance. And you can also define factors on that based on your configuration parameters. So if you have this option of exposing results to third parties, if you select that, you have a factor of 2. If you don't select it, you have a factor of 0. And these are, let's say, price add-ons on the base price. So factor 0 doesn't mean it doesn't cost anything. It just means there is nothing which comes on top. And therefore, at least what you see is exposing the stuff to third parties is more expensive than not exposing. Or purpose of use. This was an enumeration parameter, and therefore for the different values you can also define different factors. And you also can define some kind of scales. So different factors for different values. So numbers of users. 1 user is a factor of 1. For the users 2 to 5, you add a factor of 0.9. From users 6 to 10, you impose a factor of 0.8, and above that it's 0.7, something like that, just to give you an impression of what you can define there. And then you have a pay-per-use price model. what you need is a description for that. I did it short, so it's 1 cent per megapixel which you have to pay, and 10 cents for get feature info request each time you do that. And if you look into this here, you can choose a calculation base which is megapixel, and for get map request it's 1 cent per megapixel. You can also use area or just price per request. There are different options, and get feature info, of course, there you are not using the megapixel, so this is just the price per request. So these are the different ways to configure license models. So first thing I showed you was a very easy one. The second one is, let's say, somehow the most complex one you can think of, and let's say in practice license models are somewhere in between.